All right, what's going on, everyone? Today we're going to be doing a Dronelink tutorial, go over the basics and how to get started with planning your first mapping mission. Dronelink is a super useful software for pre-planning flight paths, so then you can go out in the field, execute your flight paths, get the pictures you need for 3D modeling. I just kind of put this tutorial together based on what I wish I would have known right off the bat for using the software, something that I wish I had when I was learning. So hopefully it's helpful, and let's get into it. So the whole idea of using Dronelink, at least for me, is to collect precise images that I can then upload to a photogrammetry software to be stitched together to give a 3D model. I'm sure there's plenty of applications for GPS automated flights like Dronelink provides, but for this video, the context is mainly for the purpose of 3D mapping and photogrammetry. So we'll be talking about that, and this is kind of the basic logic that I follow. There's three main components that I use for mapping, and that is the detail flight, the context flight, those are both orbits, and then a third one not shown in this picture that I'll talk about later on is a map, which is a grid-like pattern flown above the structure with a camera gimbal angled at -90 degrees directly down towards the structure. So this kind of highlights the geometry of the flights, approximate AGL, approximate camera angles. These are not super specific. This is just general ideas, but we're going to have a context flight that flies between 70 and 100 feet AGL. So that's usually, between 55 and 80 feet above the roof approximately. And then we're going to have a detail flight that flies 10 to 20 feet above the highest point of the structure's roof. And these two flights have similar but different purposes. The context flight really gathers data on the context of the building, where it's located, its main structures, its main components, and the detail flight's going to go down and get some data on specific roof structures, specific changes in elevations, and specific components of the building. And then our map that I mentioned is going to have a slightly different purpose. The reason is when you have these context flights at these approximate gimbal angles, and Dronelink allows you to manually adjust gimbal angle. You don't have to preset it. It allows you to manually adjust it in the field, which is nice. So you're going to be able to adjust it once your drone gets up in the air and you know exactly what angle you want. But these are just approximate. But when you take these images at these approximate gimbal angles, they're called oblique images, and they give very good insight on vertical structures. Obviously, if you take a picture of this chimney, for example, from straight above, you're not going to get any data on what it looks like vertically. But with these oblique images, you do. But there's also a downside. These oblique images introduce distortion to the system. So we're also going to want to pair that to these images that I'm discussing in the map that are taken from directly above. So when we pair these detail flight and context flight oblique images with these mapping photos that will be taken at a gimbal orientation of -90 degrees, so straight down, we'll get a good combination of vertical features and directly downward photos that are going to give us good data on edge location and just more crisp line placement. All right, here we are on the Dronelink website. You can access it from any internet browser. Once you load it up, all you got to do is sign in, and then we're ready to start our first mission. We'll go down here to this create button, and you'll see the options that Dronelink gives you for components of your mission. We have waypoints, map, which we will use, orbits, which we'll use, and I won't use panoramas very often. So if you refer to my earlier part of the video, I was talking about my general mapping logic. I'm going to use 2 orbits and a map. So we'll go ahead and start with the orbit option, and it'll immediately ask you to select a takeoff location. I think I'm going to park right here. So this is about where I'll take off from. And then first thing I like to do is then once it loads the orbit is I like to manually locate the center of the orbit. And this is going to have to be something you do, just use your best judgment, eyeball the geometric center of whatever you're modeling. So this building I'm doing is pretty standard rectangular shape, so it should be pretty easy to locate the center of that orbit. And it's not perfect, it's not a huge deal, but try your best to get it right there in the middle. And then we'll immediately have some components to set for our mission. We'll name it first so you can keep track of what you're working on. I'll just call this one tutorial. I usually don't have a description. I usually leave this blank. Takeoff restriction, we don't want any takeoff restrictions as long as you're in the general vicinity of your mapping mission. You can go ahead and take off without any restrictions there. And action on finish, I always leave as return home because I think that's the safest bet. You can do none and then just manually fly it back. I just really wouldn't recommend auto land because I don't trust it not to land in a tree or on a roof. So I always select return to home. These default speeds are a little fast for me. That's what I've kind of learned from the missions I've done. So I like to set them as 5 miles per hour, and then 5 feet per second magnitude on these ascent and descent rates. So we'll leave those. I like to leave, sorry, we'll set these, we'll change them from default, and then this rotation rate I like to leave as default 20 degrees per second, and these motion error tolerances I also like to leave. And we'll go ahead and choose done there. That kind of sets up our mission. Then we got to go back into the orbit to set the specific settings for our orbit, which we'll start here with our context flight. So it's going to auto-populate these coordinates. And then first thing we want to do is set an altitude for our orbit. And if you refer back to my previous logic, I think the picture I showed about 70 feet AGL being a good height for the typical house mapping. This building's a little higher off the ground. I think the roof's probably about 25 feet high. So I'm going to go a little higher with my orbit altitude. I'm going to go to 85 feet. And again, you got a lot of freedom here to choose. Make your best judgment call. Just make sure whatever height you choose gives a good image of the main features of the structure and the context of the structure. Because again, that's what this context orbit is for. This range I like to leave as default. I also like to leave this altitude reference as takeoff location. You want to refer to where you took off from, to that height. So if you take off the ground, it'll refer to the ground's height. And if you take off from like the palm of your hand, it'll refer to that. But I always like to leave this default reference as takeoff location. Now it's time for us to set the radius of our orbit. This is another thing you're going to want to eyeball. You just want to make sure that it's a large enough radius to capture the main features of the structure. And I think I'm going to move down a hair from this default of 100 feet. Let's try 90, and it's going to auto adjust on the map, so you'll be able to see. But I do think that 90 foot looks perfect. It's going to wrap around and show me the immediate context of the building, but not get a lot of this exterior stuff that I really am not interested in mapping. So I think that's good. Direction, totally up to you. Clockwise, I usually just leave it there. We do want one full rotation. More than that is kind of wasteful, but we do need to make sure we get a full rotation. So circumference, rotations, defaults are good. I usually don't add a drone heading or gimbal orientations. Those are things that you can adjust manually once you get out to the filming location, to the mapping location. You can set those manually and get more accurate that way rather than trying to, do the math or set it up beforehand. So I like to do that in the field. High wind tolerance, I'll leave it off. If you have to toggle that on, that means you're already flying in less than ideal conditions. So I just like to leave that off and let it ride the default way as far as wind tolerance goes. And automatic capture, this part's important because that's the whole point of this mapping mission, is to capture data from the air that we can then upload to a software that's going to stitch these photos together to give us a model. You can do it video-wise, but I always prefer to do photos. So we're going to set our automatic capture to photos, and then we're not going to add an asset source or run a script. So this orbit should be set up, and then it's important to know once we're in the field that then we can set the interval of photos. And it's important to know what software you're going to be using, because some of them have a minimum number of photos you can upload to create a model. So we're going to make sure once we start the mission that we choose a 2-second photo interval, because that's going to be it's going to give us good data. That's what I found to be the best photo interval. So we'll choose 2 seconds once we start the mission. So that's our context flight. We'll go ahead and click done. And now we're going to add another orbit, and we'll do our detailed flight. We'll follow a very similar logic here. Now it's not going to ask us again for another takeoff location because there's only one of those per mission. So now it's just going to ask me to locate the orbit. And I'm going to want to locate this one in the geometric center of the building again. But to make editing it easier so it's not overlapped with this one, I'm just going to offset it off here a little bit. So now here is my second orbit. Altitude is going to be much lower now. We're going to do about 20 to 25 feet roughly off the roof of the building. And since I think the roof of the building is about 25 feet off the ground, and I'm going to take off from my hands, so I don't know, 5.5 feet off the ground, 6 feet off the ground, whatever. So I'm gonna round up and go to 60-foot altitude on this one. So it's going to be quite a bit lower than my other orbit, the context flight at 85 feet. And now that I think about it, I'm going to lower that a little bit more. I'm going to do 55 foot here, still refer to the takeoff location, still leave these range defaults. My speed and ascent rate defaults are still populated. And the radius of this one, let's see, I am going to go ahead and center it, even though it's going to overlap the other one because it's just easier to see. All right, so we want to go with a smaller radius here because now we're down closer to the building itself. So let's try 75 feet and see what that looks like. I think that looks perfect. And again, in the field, we'll manually adjust the gimbal to make sure that we have everything in frame that we need. Clockwise good, rotations 1, 360-degree circumference. We're not going to add drone heading or gimbal orientation, and again, we want automatic capture of photos. So now that's our detail flight. So again, setting up these orbits is pretty intuitive. There's a few settings I like to change and a few things that I've learned, along the way of settings to change. But again, it's pretty intuitive. It'll give you prompts on what to do, and I think it's a great software to use. So now we have both of our orbits set up, context and detail flights, those are. And then lastly, we're going to add our map, which is going to give us those images from straight above the structure with a gimbal orientation of -90 degrees. So let's go ahead, we'll add a map, and we'll go ahead and follow the prompts and take care of business. Select a location for the map, again, right over top of the building. And the map is going to auto-populate a size. And this one actually looks like it gave me a huge map to start with. So we'll go ahead and change that. I like to manually adjust the corners of the map this way. So we'll just drag these in. It's a little annoying of a process to have to adjust it this way, but that's what you got to do. So we'll drag these, and we're literally just manually dragging these in to match the size of the area that we're concerned with mapping. And it'll look a little funky as we adjust the size, but as we go through and set the settings, it'll look better. All right, so the very first setting we want to make sure we set for our map is that we correctly select the drone camera that you're using. I'll be using Mavic Air 2, so I'll go ahead and select that. But Dronelink has preloaded aspect ratios and camera specs for each camera, so you want to make sure you select your drone's camera. First thing you do to make sure that all these pre-planned specs are going to be correct. You set these overlaps for one camera, but you're using a different one. For example, that would mess up your flight path, so make sure you select the correct camera. All right, so this altitude presets at 285 feet. That's way too high. I'm thinking for this structure, you do want to do higher than your orbits. I usually like to go between 100 and 150 feet, somewhere in there. It's a pretty large range, but I'm gonna go with 120 for this structure. Get about 100 feet above the structure. That's usually what I figure out to be, about the best option. Still refer to this. Camera overlaps. Now this is important. The amount of overlapping is going to affect the amount of details that the software is provided with the pictures. The more overlap you have, the more, the better idea your stitching software is going to have of where objects are located relative to each other. But as you increase the overlap, you're going to have way more photos, a lot more data for the software to process, and therefore longer processing times. So, it depends on the detail you're looking for, but I usually like to set these each to be 70%. And you'll notice when you update those that the actual layout of your map changes because it's going to adjust where the route is based off photo overlap. And automatic capture, we want single photos. Capture priority, I usually like to leave as distance. There's also a time option, but it just kind of changes the way the drone moves around the mission, whether or not you select it to prioritize distance or time. Focus mode, leave it. This speed bumped up to 20 miles an hour. If you're mapping a huge area and you're crunched for time, it's a default for a reason. Like, I'm sure the software knows that 20 miles per hour is a doable speed for the drone. But again, I like to lower this. I'm not in a rush, and I just like to see the mission take its time and get everything right. So I like to lower that quite a bit down to 5 miles per hour, like I lowered the other settings to. Flight direction, leave it. Pattern, normal. Forward, all these things you can leave. And then here's this gimbal pitch is going to automatically set to -90, which is what we want. So this is for the map portion, I do preset the gimbal pitch. But again, you can still adjust it if you want. But it's important that you get those pictures at -90 degrees so you don't have any distortion when you go ahead and upload it to your stitching software. All right. Minimum capture interval, 2 seconds is good. And I'm going to leave this high wind tolerance off. And we should be set up here settings-wise, but we still need to adjust our boundaries because obviously I don't care about mapping all this stuff. So we'll just grab these guys and pull them in here. All right, now that we've got our map manually sized to the area we want to map, there's a few useful features that Dronelink has to allow you to make sure the mission you have planned is what you actually think it is. Make sure you did it the way you wanted to. So the first thing we'll do is we'll go over to this clock icon, and it's going to give you a lot of specs on the mission. My favorite one and the most important one in my opinion is this total time estimation. Obviously going to give you an idea of how long you're going to have to be out in the field and how many batteries you're going to need, because you can pause missions and do battery swaps pretty easily, but I like to try to keep my missions under one battery just to avoid that. But obviously if it's a large mapping mission, you have no choice. But this one's going to be well under one battery for my Mavic Air 2, and these other specs are things we set manually, like the altitude and max speed. And then this is good to show you're going to need 83 photos, which is a pretty small amount, but this is a pretty small structure. So that's one useful thing to check out our mission that we have planned. And the next one is this mission preview icon, and it's going to essentially allow us to run the mission in a simulation to make sure that it is what we think it is. I'm not going to bore you guys with this. I just wanted to introduce you to the idea, because we'll go out in the field and I'll show you how everything works out there. But usually this will load. I'm not having good GPS loading right now for some reason, but this will load to give you a 3D view of like a drone first person view of the mission. And you go ahead and select play here, and I just turn up to the fastest speed so you can speed it up. But this little red arrow here is our drone, our virtual drone, and we're going to see it come out here, start with our context flight, do our detailed flight, and then do our map. Down here to this viewer down here, you can see your automatic captures and your mission components, your orbits, maps, all that stuff. So this is super useful, and I recommend every time you plan a mapping mission to do this first to make sure what you think you have planned is what the drone's going to actually do. But like I said, I'm not going to sit here and have you guys watch this whole thing, because we're going to go out and do it in the field. All right, we got the Mavic Air 2 ready to go. We'll head out to the mapping location and get the mission started. All right, once we get our drone connected to Dronelink, we'll hit the play button there in the top left, and it will start our mission. We're going to start with our context flight, and then it's going to decrease in altitude to our detailed flight. One thing to note here is I could have gone a little higher and a little farther out for my detailed flight. I missed a little bit of the roof, but as you'll see in a minute, I'll show you the model that this produced, and it turned out pretty nice, so no big deal. And then we'll move on to our map, and it'll do that. All right, and once our mission finishes, the drone will return to home, just like we set in the settings. All right, so here is what our mapping project produced. I think it looks really great. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. You see some distortion there in the bottom on those trucks, but that's because they were moving around during the flight, so no big deal there. But I think the details on the building look great, even though my detailed flight wasn't perfect. And I think this turned out really well, so hopefully I was able to teach somebody something about Dronelink. That was the goal for this video, but I appreciate you guys watching, and feel free to leave a comment below with other questions or even pointers for me for how to use Dronelink even better. Thanks, guys.